Hi everyone, this is Britt Simon. I thought I'd jump online and see if I can take any of your messages. It's going to be kind of a short session today. I don't have a full hour to spend today, so my live sessions I normally do a little bit about an hour and 15 minutes, but I don't have that much time today. So I'm going to try and be sort of fairly quick with the questions. It would help me a lot if we don't get many questions about, what are my chances for this case number, and I'd love to see, if possible, questions that are interesting and technical in nature, questions that actually really need answering, but we'll see. Anyway, DV 2020 and DV 2021, we're just waiting for the appeals. No news on those, right? Talk about Nairobi's 72 case number. It has a chance. Nairobi's doing exceptionally well. They took 370 2NLs this month. So there's a chance for 72K at Nairobi, which is, you have to wait and see. But does KCC use IBM Z OS? I don't know. I'm not quite sure of that technology, but yeah, it's probably not very modern. Ethiopia 32K is probably at risk. The way I've calculated the density per 1,000 of real cases and the number of cases that they're taking on a monthly basis, it shows that they wouldn't reach 32K if they continue with the current capacity each month. So in the remaining 2 months, if they increase their capacity, maybe you'd have a chance. But it would take that. It would need quite a large increase in capacity. DV 2024 Cameroon, any chance? Yeah, I mean, as far as I can answer a question like that. Trinidad, yeah, I can't think of anything particular that you might want me to say about Trinidad, but, seems fine. I would like to relocate my interview place. What can I do? The interviews are scheduled at the location that you've put as your current address in your DS260. If you want to change the location of your interview, it really means moving to another country. And you've got to do that before you become current. If you leave it until you're current, you've left it too late. And so for DV 2024, most people are now sort of actually sort of tied to the place where they live. And most people have left it too late. So you can try and do something quickly. But I've been saying to people for several months, here's how you change your location. And if people didn't take my advice earlier, then they've probably left it too late. Hello, Simon. What kind of questions do you get in the interview? They're very simple. There's nothing you need to rehearse for or practice answering, anything like that. They ask you things maybe about your current career, more likely why are you choosing this place to live, where you going to America, what sort of work will you want to do. Very general questions, nothing complicated. You don't need to rehearse them in any way. It's just conversational. The consular officers really like DV interviews because they want to give away these visas. It's a happy event. They know very well that the person sitting in front of them has had a life-changing, tremendous opportunity win, and they're not looking for reasons to try and catch people out or anything like that. They want to give these visas away, and they're just looking to have an informal interview. They might confirm a few of the documents. That's about it. Okay. Is EU improving its stats? Not really. I mean, so sort of. EU has sent 470 or received 470 2NLs this month. They really need to accept more. As it is, they're looked to be underfilling. In fact, they're behind Africa in terms of visa issuances, which is very unusual, actually. Africa is normally second to EU, and we normally have one particular lawyer complaining about racism at this time of the year. This year, Africa is well ahead of EU. So we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of months, but EU needs to get on with it, right? Is there a chance for EU 28K? I presume you mean in 2024, and I would say yes, since it's only 500 more than than the current number. So it seems like a fairly obvious question, or obvious answer. EU 30K, again, seems just as obvious, really. Example of questions asked to couples at interview. No, nothing different to what I just said. Now, if that couple had got married after the DV lottery win, there may be some questions about, okay, how did you meet? When did you meet? How did you get married? Were there many people at your wedding and that sort of thing? They may be probing to see something about the relationship to make sure that the relationship and the marriage wasn't fraudulently performed, right? But that's about the only real difference there. Do you feel by August we'll hit 50K issued visas? Will interviews be cancelled this year? I'm almost certain we won't see the fiasco of last year where they scheduled 75,000 people, and that was too many people, and so they cancelled thousands of people's interviews at the last minute and stopped issuing on September 6th. You have to understand that only just over 50,000 people have been scheduled in DV 2024. It's almost impossible, I would say, that they can get to even 70,000, let alone the 75,000 that they got to last year that caused all that chaos, right? We're just not going to see them issue all of the visas. So will they get to 50,000? Probably. But will they get to the point where 55,000 is the point at which they have to be cancelling interviews? Will they get to that? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to get there. In fact, even 50,000 is going to need a bit more of an effort right now. Okay. My case number is 100K DV 2024. What is my hope? Not very much. I've been saying for many, many months, someone at that case number has very little hope, and I'm still saying that. I haven't varied my position on that. Okay. Thanks for the information. My son got selected in DV 2025. He's 20 years old. Can he add the parents in the DS260? He is the only child. No, he can't take you. Can't add the parents. It's not how it works. The parents can add a child, but a child can't add the parents, even though the child is an adult. That your son would have to move to America, be there for 5 years in America, building a life, etc., and then take citizenship, which takes a few months to a year. And so roughly in about 6 years after he enters America, he could then sponsor you for a green card. That's the fastest way. There is no sponsorship of an LPR, a green card holder, for the parents. That's not possible, right? So he has to be a citizen. Once he's a citizen of America, then yes, he's entitled to sponsor his parents, and it's a pretty fast process at that point, about a year. So, roughly speaking, 7 to 7.5 or 8 years from now, maybe you could be in America with your son. But until then, he's going to have to be there by himself. Are there dedicated number of visas for each embassy, or it's unlimited until the end of the whole visa given? Yeah, it's not by embassy. It's not by country. There is a quota, but it's for the region. It's not for individual embassies. The only thing that people get confused about that is per country is there is a cap. There's a rule in the law that says no single country can take more than 7% of the global number of visas, 3,850. If the global number of visas is 55,000, then 7% of that is 3,850. So no single country can take more than 3,850, but it's not a pre-allocation. Some people take that wrongly and say, oh, well, there should be 3,850 visas for every embassy. I'm like, do the math. That's not going to work. That's not how it works, right? It's just an upper limit that no single country can exceed. It's not a pre-allocation for any country. And there's only a couple of countries that can get anywhere close to that. You need a high number of selectees with a high response rate and a high approval rate. And there's not many countries that could do that. Nepal could do that. If Nepal gets over about 3,900 selectees, with a few marriages and births and that sort of thing, they could threaten that 3,850. They could get there. but we don't normally see Nepal stopped because the selectee number is kept to about 3,800. Okay, was it Algeria? I think it was Algeria in 23 actually had met that number before the visas ran out, so they were stopped. If you put on the DS-260 that you want to study in the US, do you have to justify with more money at the visa interview? No, strangely enough, you don't. You do have to show a sensible plan, but there are, it is possible if you're a green card holder to get loans and student loans and that sort of thing for educations, and that's fairly normal over here. A lot of people, a lot of Americans carry some level of debt, sometimes a lot of debt, as they leave the education system in America. And so the fact that you're a person that is planning to go into debt for education in America doesn't, that's not unusual. That's not going to horrify anyone here or a CEO. They're going to be fine with that. It doesn't stop you emigrating. 41K Cairo, any chance? Yeah, maybe. I haven't done the numbers on Cairo as I've explained before. Does the World Cup have any adverse effect? Not really, no. I don't think so. Hi, Sam, DV 2022 winner from Ethiopia, 43K. What are the requirements to bring my parents? I explained earlier. You've got to become a citizen, okay? And citizenship is available to green card holders after 5 years if they got their green card through the lottery. It is a shorter time period for other types of visas, through marriage, for example. But in general, you've got to become a citizen first, and then you can sponsor your parents for a green card. Okay. Thanks for all the support and guidance. My visa has been approved. I qualify with working experience. Excellent. T7 Entertainment. I would love you to write up on my blog how you proved your work experience, how was the interview process, and that sort of thing. It was very helpful if you could do that, because quite a lot of people, talk about trying to pass an interview through work experience. But I don't have that many sort of experience stories on my blog that deal with that specific issue. And so it would be helpful if you would write that up. I'd be very grateful. But well done. Congratulations. Good luck in America. Okay. My host sent me her tax declaration for 22 since 23 is not ready. Will it be rejected? Yep. You need to provide more recent income than that. Can't be that old. 2023 should be ready. Most people file their taxes in April. You can file an extension and file later, but which reminds me, I've got to pay my taxes because I filed an extension. I've got to do the paperwork on that. If they want to help you, they need to prove the income. So generally speaking, they can do that through a W-2, for example. If they have a W-2 from a job that shows they earn that amount of money, that can be used in place of a tax report. So that's the other way to do it. Okay. Had to get a new passport since interview has been scheduled. Is that a problem? No, you just take the new passport to the interview. Is there a second batch in Algeria because the visa bulletin was 67K, interview appointment stopped at 59K? I don't know whether Algeria will take more or not. We'll have to wait and see. Why is Addis Embassy give 2NL for high case number 46K? Is it possible? I've explained before how people can do that. It happens. There was another case which was a case number EU 8092. If you have a look at that case number, that has been issued from Ankara before any other EU case of that number range was scheduled. That case and the 46K case in Addis did what I told people to do, right? They just listened. Maybe they did it by themselves, or maybe they listened to my advice. But the advice was that you can, if you're in an embassy which is backlogged, you can move to another country, right? And I'll leave it to your judgment to decide what that means to move to another country. But you can move to another country where you can get scheduled. And then once you have been scheduled, you can contact your original country, like, you get scheduled in Nairobi, for example, and then you contact Addis Embassy after you've been scheduled, and you say, "Hey, I've moved back to Addis. Can you schedule me there, please?" And they will schedule you. Okay, so that's how it happens. You shouldn't be surprised if you've been listening to me over the last 2, 3, 4 months. You'd have heard me describing that exact situation. So it shouldn't be a surprise that somebody listened and somebody did that. Smart people listen and take their opportunities, and others don't. I don't know why people don't listen, but that's what happens. Mantha, Ems, how you doing? My job in life has become to say hello at every chance I get. I like your videos and share them. Thank you, Ems. Appreciate it. Good luck to you. Ghana with the case number of 2025 AF3K for deriv applicants. Any advice? 31K. Oh. Advice would be to move the hell out of Ghana. Frankly, let me be honest. You're probably not going to get an interview at AF31K. So your case number won't be current until well after the start of next year, after January, right? So you're going to have a chance to see the selectee numbers in July or August, and you're also going to have a chance to see the SEAC data, which we'll have in January. When you see the SEAC data in January, we will know how many selectees there are in Ghana, and because we'll know that from July or August, and we'll know we'll be able to look at the case numbers overall and figure things out, and we'll know how many cases Ghana or Accra Embassy took in October, November, December. I would be pretty confident in saying it's going to be disappointing. They're going to be doing 20 and 30 interviews again per month, which is just not enough. And in that scenario, if that scenario all happens like I just described, then you need to move at that point. You need to go to another country because Ghana's not going to take your interview. It's as simple as that. Okay, and there's really no other way to look at it. And if you don't follow that advice, then you will just lose your green card. It's as simple as that, really. Hi, Brent. What do you think about the DS5535 given to lottery winner after the interview? I mean, what do you want me to say? I don't love it, but it happens, and we have to comply with it. It's to me, is if you look at the DS5535, and you can look it up online, many of the questions are the same in the DS5535 as you've already answered in the DS260. So to me, it's very important that you fully detail your situation in the DS260, because number one, having the full detail in your DS260 probably lessens the chance you'll be given a DS5535 if you've given full employment history, full travel history, full address history, full social media history, etc. If you've been fully transparent, that's much better, right? And then when they get the DS5535, if they ask for that, and I personally think the chances of being asked for the DS5535 are probably lessened by having a properly completed DS260. So if you get it anyway, if you get a 5535 anyway, then at least they're going to look at that and they're going to look at the DS260 and say, hey, this is pretty much the same information. There's almost no extra information. There's no surprises here. Then we're fine with the background check that's already been done. And the embassy could choose to fast track that 5535. They could basically just pre-approve it themselves. Right? Now, all of that is speculation. But I think it's fairly sensible speculation. So, please follow that advice. Make sure your DS260 was properly filled out. And if it isn't, at this point, if you're a DV 2025 winner, you're better off to unlock the DS260 and make it a complete application, because some of you didn't listen to what you were told and you went ahead and submitted the DS260 thinking fast is better than accurate. And no, that is not the case. Accurate is better than fast when it comes to DS260s, right? So fast is good, but accurate is more important, right? And so if you have to make that decision, then you focus on the accurate. You don't focus on the fast, right? And you unlock as well if you have to make it accurate. And for God's sake, don't listen to idiots that tell people that unlocking causes delay. I've argued that till I'm blue in the face, and I've explained that. But what I've also done is I've shown time and time again all of the people that have had absolutely no impact on their interviews through the unlocking of the DS260, which nullifies the other point that people try to make, that they say, yeah, but my Uncle Bob, he got his case delayed because he unlocked his DS260. And I say, prove it. Prove that that was the delay. When there's other people that have no delay through unlocking the DS260, prove to me that it was unlocking the DS260 that caused that delay. And you can't prove that, and you can't even logically reason that. So use a little bit of thinking, and you figure that one out pretty quickly. But there's some people around who can't figure that stuff out because they're not good critical thinkers, frankly. Hey, Britt, approved DV2K24 winner here. Made a video on how to relocate and find houses, but I think you need to make another video at least recommending cities with less crime rate and stuff. I've written an article and done a video some time ago. I could perhaps refresh that. That says to use a website called areavibes.com. And there are other websites that you can go to. But with areavibes.com, you can type in a city name, and it gives you all sorts of information about the demographics of the city, about the cost of living in the city, about things to do in the city, all sorts of information. And so it's, and crime rate is there too. So go ahead and do that. But in general, here's what I'll tell you about crime rate. Violent crime and crime rate in general tends to be higher in poorer areas, right? And some people get attracted as immigrants to go to poorer areas, right? And to me, that's a bad choice in many ways, but it's a bad choice if you want to avoid crime. Now, it is true that there is a different sort of crime in nicer areas. Nicer areas tend to have higher property costs and that sort of thing, higher cost of living, but we'll have higher wages, right? And in most cases, you can have a better life and make more money and make more wealth by living in an expensive area than you can by living in a cheaper area. And the type of crime you get is not so much the violent crime and that sort of thing, it's property crime. If you've got a lot of wealth and you've got 3 or 4 nice cars in the drive and that sort of thing, yeah, maybe someone's going to try and rob from you, but it's not likely that you're going to be taking a walk down the street and you get hit over the head. It's more that they're going to be trying to steal your car or something, right? But in the years I've been here, I've never had any crime. Obviously, I'm a big guy. I could deal with that. But crime isn't really an issue for me. But I've always lived in nice areas. I'm not living in inner city, cheap to live in, areas, because I've never seen that as a good idea. I also did a comparison, just a sort of a very quick comparison. I compared myself to EBM from EBM Scholars, who's another YouTube channel who talks a little bit about DV lottery and how to make a Tanzanian salad and other things. Bless him. Anyway, he bought a house, I think it was in Belmont, Missouri or something. And he bought his house about 2 or 3 weeks before I bought my nice house. He paid $260,000 for his house. I paid $1.3 million for my house. Something like that. It was about that. We both bought the houses in the same month, right? Which was November 2017. His house has risen, and he's very pleased with the amount of money he's made on his house, because it went up from the $260,000 he paid for it, and now it's worth maybe $350,000 or something. So he's made maybe 90K, 100K. My house has gone up from 1.3 million to 2.5 million. So I've made about 1.2 million in the same time that he's made 100 grand. I live in an expensive area to live in, and my salary is probably multiple times what could be earned in Missouri, where EBM lives, right? Now, I'm not saying those things to show off. I'm trying to say to people, I understand why people are drawn to cheap places to live, like EBM chose, for example. And he had been in California, funnily enough. If you listen to one of his videos, he explained that he had been in California and chose to move to a cheaper place. Well, he'll never be able to move back to California. Whereas I could sell my house and buy 10 houses in the city where EBM lives, right? But he couldn't do the reverse, right? So you can, if you take the plunge and you go to an expensive area, your salary will be significantly higher. Instead of earning 50 grand, you'll earn 150 grand. Instead of, maybe you've got 100 grand a year job in Missouri. Well, that would be very unusual in Missouri. But $300,000 and $400,000 a year jobs are not that unusual where I live, right? So the salary levels are higher to pay for the expenses and let you invest in your house. And then when you've got a $2.5 million house and you want to go buy a car, and your salary is at the level that supports a $2.5 million house, buying a car of 50 grand, 60 grand is like nothing. You just pay cash for it because it's just, it's not a lot of money in comparison to the wealth that you have built, right? So don't be fooled into net story of all this. Don't be fooled into buying in a cheap area where you're going to have a high crime rate, where you're going to have low salaries, and you did that because the houses or the property looked cheap to rent or cheap to buy. Don't do that. That's a bad mistake, right? And emigrating to a new country is like a rebirth. You've got an opportunity to carve out, to choose the life that you want to have, right? Choose the life I've made. Don't make a mistake. Now, once you reached retirement, etc., you can go and live wherever you want. But while you're earning, while you're trying to build wealth, etc., the best place to build wealth, believe it or not, is in an expensive area where the quality of life is also nice, and where there's even if you are not a high income earner, if you live in my city and you want to go and mow my lawn or whatever, or you want to wash my car, or you want to look after my swimming pool or fix my car or whatever it is, all of those are jobs that I would rather just pay someone to do, right? So we have a cleaner, we have a pool guy, we have a gardener. Those are things I would rather not spend my time on. And for a couple of $100, $300 or $400 or whatever, I'm paying him, pool guy, a couple of $100 a month, gardener, 200, 250 a month or something, and cleaner, 400 a month. So maybe I might be spending, close to $1,000 on people that help me, but it makes my life easier, and it's good for the local economy. And so even if you're not a highly compensated person, if you live in an expensive area, you're going to find that you'll be able to get very lucrative jobs around that area, just doing even, just helpful tasks, blue collar tasks around that area. Okay, so there you go. That's my diversion. That's probably most of this conversation. Let me do a few more questions here, and we'll see. I'm new here. What does go current mean for your case number? Going current is when the visa bulletin number is higher in your region or your country than your number. So you've got case number 28,000 and the visa bulletin goes to 29,000 or 30,000. That number is now higher than your number. You are now current. And current means that you are eligible for an interview. And it takes some time. Before that time, you can't get an interview. So if your case number is in DV 2025, let's say EU 30,000, you're not going to be interviewed in October. In fact, you probably won't be interviewed, if at all. You won't be interviewed until July, August, or September of 2025. That's the effect of your case number and being current. Okay. Does dress code matter in the interview? No. Just go reasonably smart casual. You don't have to dress in a business suit or formal attire or anything like that. But don't go in scrappy old jeans, or don't look like a mess either. Be Smart, clean, casual, something like that. How do you see SA 2024 becoming current or cases above 4,000 arriving? I don't see South America becoming current. Cases above 4,000, I think, are at risk. Back home in Mel from our activation trip. Awesome, Paige. Packing up and heading off to the US in a few months. Good. Got to say a huge thanks once again. Everyone listen to Simon. He knows what's up. I do know what's up. Thank you. But congratulations. I hope the activation went well, and good luck for the move back. It's stressful, but I'm sure you can handle it. So good luck to you. Is it acceptable to live in the United States and play the DV for another family member in Africa? Absolutely, no problem. I'm DV 2024 winner, and my case number is current in June. Even if it's apparently, I will be scheduled for next VB. The problem is that my spouse couldn't make it because she's bonded to the Army contract. So previously, okay, a little bit of jumbled words there, not helping my dyslexia at all. But yeah, you've got a little bit of a problem with the Army contract. All I can recommend is that if you are the principal winner, then probably the path you're going to have to take is that you're going to have to get the green card. You'll move to America, and when she can be released from her obligation, you'll sponsor her. That's bound to lead to a couple of years apart, 2, 3, 4 years apart even. You'll just have to do the best you can. That's what you'll have to do. So good luck with that. Would you advise 72K in Nairobi to stay rather than move to another embassy and wait till current? Oh my God, what a stupid thing to do it would be to move to another country other than Nairobi. Nairobi is doing, pretty much the best. So if you're already there and you're 72K, for goodness sake, stay there and wait. I mean, that's just, watch the numbers. Go look at what they've been doing. They've been doing an amazing job, and they're going to get to 72K. There's no doubt about that, right? So just relax and wait. Okay. Sammy says, please, how can I contact you for DV lottery issues? I don't know. Maybe go on one of my live sessions, ask a question. You could try that. You could also go to my blog, britsimonsays.com, ask a question there. What you couldn't do is send me an email or send me a private message or anything like that, because I don't answer those emails. I prefer to answer questions in public so that when I answer the question, more people than just you can benefit from the answer, right? So that's the way I maximize my time. I'm not a lawyer. I don't do this for a living. This is just a hobby for me, and I have to maximize my time, and I don't want to give the impression that I am a lawyer or I'm pretending to be a lawyer. And so I don't charge any fees or anything else like that. So I only answer questions through the blog, through my channel, and that sort of thing. Okay. And you asked a question about, could you ask me a question? You probably should have just asked me the question. I would have answered that. You've blown it. Can I transfer school while AOS pending? Ask mum that one, right? Yeah, ask mum. I don't want to interfere with adjustment of status. There is one and only one supreme expert on DV lottery adjustment of status in this country, and that's someone's mum at the forums.immigration.com forum. I don't ever try and go up against her in terms of skills about AOS. She's the expert. Okay. How long should it take before DV selectees returns back to their country after arrival in the USA? Is their visa extended as the green card and may not arrive? Talk about how soon to join military. Okay. There is no minimum period of time when you enter the US for the first time and activate your green card status, your LPR status. There is no minimum amount of time you have to be there. You could literally turn around and get on the next plane and go home, right? Leave America. That would be legal, no problem. Now, what most people do is they go on an activation trip, like Paige was just mentioning. They enter the USA for a period of time, maybe a week, 2 weeks, or whatever, and they look around and they figure out maybe do they like this area or that area? How about looking into some companies? Maybe they make some contacts. Maybe they go and see a bank, maybe open a bank account if they can. There's various things you can do in an activation trip that will make life easier for you when you then come back, let's say 6 months later or up to a year later, right? That first trip, it's quite justifiable to be out for up to one year, right? Not more than 1 year, but up to 1 year is okay, it's acceptable. Generally speaking, absences from the USA should be kept to less than 6 months. Now, in terms of will your visa be extended? When you enter the USA for the first time, your DV lottery visa, your immigrant visa, is stamped. It's endorsed, is the technical term. And on your visa, it says upon endorsement acts as proof of status or something like that. And basically, it's acting as a temporary green card for you. It proves your status. So it lasts for 1 year after that initial entry, and you can show that visa, and that visa is as good as a green card. And of course, the idea is that you've got your green card within that time. Talk about how soon to join military. I've never joined the military in America, so I couldn't tell you much about that, but I see no reason why you couldn't join the military straight away. Green card holders are able to join the military, and it's a good career. The American military is extremely powerful, obviously, extremely well-funded, and people who come out of the military tend to have pretty good careers. Now, I won't say all the time. There are some people who struggle a little bit when they come out of the military, but in general, there are a lot of people who've really turned that experience to their advantage. So it's not a bad idea. Okay. I think there will be much more 2NLs in EU this month. A lot of embassies still not received them. We'll see in the next 2 weeks. Cheers. Yeah, I agree, Vlad. I'm hoping that we'll get another 200 or 300 2NLs at least, which would take us to the sort of 700, 800 number, which would be nice. That's really where they should be. I'd like to see them doing 1,000, but that seems unlikely. But anyway, fingers crossed. Yeah, I hope to see quite a few 2NLs still. I still think we're going to get 2NLs. I mean, I was talking to some people this morning, typing to some people, explaining my thoughts on Oceania region and why the visa bulletin for Oceania doesn't really need to increase very much at all, because we're getting pretty close to the cap, to the quota. But we haven't seen interviews for Suva, Sydney, Auckland, any of them for July yet. So we're probably going to see some more 2NLs, certainly for those embassies, and probably some others, right? But will they come? People always ask me, will they do a second batch of interviews for this embassy or for that embassy? I don't know. I'm not going to try and predict second batches. That does happen in some months. Most months it happens, actually. But I'm not going to try and predict that. Okay. All right. Let me quickly scan for a couple more questions here. Okay, this would be a good one. Please, my problem here are the confirmation number. Please, anytime I try to check my EDV, they tell me the confirmation number is not correct. Please help me. My name is, your name. Okay, so you're probably just making a simple mistake on the way that you're entering your name or your confirmation number. And I've produced a video. If you go look at my videos, I've produced a video that would lead you through that and help you. But the quick, simple piece of advice I can give you is, if you go into the ESC page and look for the link at the top of the page that says forgot confirmation number, click that and enter all the information. It's a slightly different format of information in that section, and it asks you for some different information. And one of the things it will do is it will retrieve your confirmation number, which you can then copy and paste to make sure you're not making a mistake in the way that you're entering your confirmation number, which is the most likely problem you're having. Okay, so go and have a go with that. Okay. Okay. Let me just see this one. Andre says, what's the chance to be assigned for 2 months tuberculosis research in Warsaw, Mum? I mean, I wish I'd clicked on this question because I'm not quite sure what the question means. I don't understand what the question means, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, don't understand that, and I don't have a lot more time. So please write your question to me at the blog. I can seek clarification. Perhaps you could be a bit more clear. So ask me the question on my blog and I'll answer it there, okay? Okay, last question then. Good evening, Simon. I'm about to fill my DS-260 form and one section talks about proof of vaccination. Would it be okay to ask yes to the question and use the medical results as proof? Look, that particular question about the vaccination has a yes or no answer. And the question is worded in some way that says, do you have the documentation to prove that you are vaccinated to US standards, something like that, right? But the wording of the question means that the only logical answer for that question would be no, because you don't have the American standard documentation. Even if you got some documentation, it's not the American standard documentation. My wife has just given me the signal to close the session. But you don't have the documentation, or that documentation isn't the American standard, right? Now, it doesn't matter whether you answer yes or no, but if you really want to be picky about it, no is the only logical answer because you don't have the documentation. But answer yes or answer no, it doesn't make any difference. You're not going to get denied whether you answer one way or the other on that particular question. There's some questions on the DS-260 that cannot possibly cause you a problem. There's another question which is, are you a health worker that seeks to work in the USA without the approval of blah, blah, blah? That one doesn't make any difference. You can answer yes or no to that question. And there's another one. There's a question that says something like, are you seeking skilled or unskilled labor within the USA without approval from the Department of Employment or whatever? Again, that question is a stupid question. It doesn't count for DV lottery. It doesn't make any difference. But that particular question about are you seeking skilled or unskilled labor, what other type of labor is there? If it's skilled labor, fine. If it's unskilled labor, fine. But what's the other type of labor? So the only answer for that one is yes, I'm seeking to move to America to do skilled or unskilled labor. Everyone is. I mean, it's a moronic question. It's a stupid question. It doesn't make any sense. The point of that question is, have you got approval? You don't need approval for a DV lottery process. So that's why the question should be answered, yes, I'm seeking to move to America without Department of Labor approval. So, the trick in answering the questions is to read and understand the question properly and not try and answer it the way you think they're looking to catch you out. They're not looking to catch you out. They're just stupid questions sometimes that you've just got to answer very literally. All right, everybody, I'm going to call that a day. The hell's wish? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Anyway, I'm going to call that a day. Please do make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's important. It worries me that people are getting bad information from other sources, because honestly, there are some dopey YouTubers out there that are helping people with really bad information. So please do subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you want to ask questions, best place to ask questions is on BritSimonSays.com. And good luck with everything you do. All right, everybody. Thanks then. Bye-bye.